All right, Mark Darian here, and this is Casey. We're with Remax, and we have the adventure page where we're going to start doing some gear reviews. And what we're going to do tonight is a cycling cold weather gear review.
Yeah, hopefully bring you guys some informative content. Mark and I, it's taken a couple of years to really figure out what works in all the different temperatures and what makes our rides more enjoyable. So hopefully going to share a little bit about that and some of our favorite pieces to hopefully save you some of that hassle or help you pick out that next piece that's really going to complete your set.
Yep, so we'll jump right in.
Yeah, so we'll kind of start, fall time of year and kind of work our way to colder. So, obviously we have, just your regular, summer jersey here.
Small jersey.
Small. We got the
jersey.
Got the adult size here. These can be combined with a few useful pieces like a wind vest. The nice thing here, they seem very thin and that they're not going to do much, but really the idea with these is it keeps the wind off your front, but then is also breathable. It's kind of a mesh in the back. So you combine that with something like a summer jersey that's going to keep the wind off your core, still let it breathe a little bit.
Especially right in the fall, like right now we're getting almost mid-fall, but early fall, those first 50-degree temperature days, you're used to wearing just the jersey all summer. Those first brisk nights come about. This is like the first piece I go to. This keeps the wind off your chest where you get the coldest, especially on gravel rides. Not so much in the woods, but in the gravel rides, road rides, and so that's one of my first pieces I go to.
Yeah, the other great thing with this is, you combine them with things like your arm warmers, knee warmers, neck gaiters. The nice thing with that is you can kind of put them on when you're cold, getting started, and then you can kind of shed those as it either warms up in the afternoon or you yourself get more into the activity. Let's say you start warming up a little bit, you can take the vest off and you can shed the warmers. It's good to layer, just have those options so you're not committed to one set.
Perfect example is like at a race, like all the fall races and whatnot, or it doesn't matter if it's fall or not, but starts out cooler. So, if it's a 9 a.m. race, 8 a.m. race, it's going to be possibly 10 to 15 degrees different as you're out there racing.
Absolutely.
So if you start with, say, just your regular jersey and some arm warmers, even if it's just the jersey and the arm warmers, mid-race you're shedding the arm warmers, or if you start with these two, you can shed all of it. All of them have big giant pockets in the back, so you can just cram them back there.
Yeah.
Something I was going to mention too is there's a big difference between race and ride. So we're probably talking to both folks out there. We'll get into some stuff over here that is for like some extreme cold. For me, being a bigger guy, I sweat a lot and I stay hot. And so some of this super warm stuff I would never race in. I would just fry and
that's one thing to think about too, is if you're going into something like a race, obviously you could have a mechanical or some instance that makes you stop, but you're usually not planning to stop. So with that, I would typically dress where I'm almost a little bit cooler, or feeling slightly chilly at the start, knowing that my body's going to warm up. Whereas a casual ride, you're going to, maybe plan to stop. Then you're going to want to dress a little bit warmer, because once you sweat or get warm, you're going to get cold and it's going to be harder to get back to that same temperature.
That was one of my biggest learning curves or mistakes. Like Iceman is the race that got me into racing, and if I look back at some of my first years racing, I was dressed like a snowmobile suit guy, and that's a mistake. If you're literally going to be pushing your heart rate for 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, depending on how your first race. You get hotter than you think. So if you're racing, always start in the start chute cold. Chilly.
And that's a dangerous thing too, because you sweat, and then if you do have to stop, you're going to get extremely cold. Or just sweating, even without a stop, you're going to dehydrate your body. You're going to have to take on more fluids, and in a race that can be pretty crucial.
So. Definitely. So let's show a couple more things. So it goes jersey. And then we talked about the Windbreaker. That's an awesome wind vest I should say. And then underneath that, before you get into the actual full arm length windbreaker, sometimes we mix in the wool base layers somewhere around here. Here we go. So we've got different thicknesses of base layers. So this one is one of my favorites. I think it's like merino wool, just from Costco. There's different thicknesses. This one's nice and thin. I've got some other thick ones.
Here's another base layer too, same kind of thing. Wind stopper up front, mesh in the back. So really just kind of keeping that wind off your core.
Yep, that actually would be a good one before this. You know, so if you're just out, and once again, I'll make a difference between woods riding and racing and maybe gravel and road. Some of this style stuff is good for gravel and road, keeping that wind off. Your wind's more important in the 15 plus mile an hour stuff, not so much in the woods.
And that's really something that's unique to cycling. I know a lot of people have good winter gear or fall gear. The big thing with cycling that you always hear or talk about or want to think about is that you have this constant wind coming at your chest, and then you also want to let it, kind of breathe in the back. So a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about is kind of bulkier in the front and then a lighter mesh or material.
Party.
Exactly.
Yep. So moving to the next stuff here, show them some of this stuff you got.
Yeah, so here, this is kind of moving on from your summer stuff and layering. These are going to be these are from Gore here, so they have a little bit of that wind stopper, but the big difference with these is that they're going to be kind of a fleece material throughout. Same thing with the jersey here. This is actually a full-on thermal jersey, so long sleeves built in, fleece. This one happens to be from GRBC. So the nice thing with that is it's a little bit warmer, a little bit thicker. The downside of this is you're not going to be able to layer it as well, because obviously you're always going to be locked into the long sleeves and the fleece. So that's something to think about.
If we were to talk temperatures, and that's going to be different between body styles and types and how bad you sweat and whatnot. But to give you an idea, like this style, which is this style, the Remax 1-2, this is something I wear racing when it's like 35. Like this doesn't seem like much, but this actually keeps you pretty warm for me. So this is like race. This is as heavy as I would go in a race. With that little bit of that fleece lining.
So definitely a good option. Going back to the vest, this is more of a Primaloft insulated vest. So this one, just is insulated all throughout. The nice thing with this is, you don't always have to wear the vest on the outside. That can change a little bit. I know with this particular one, if it's a little bit warmer, I'll wear it on just the outside. If I'm really cold, I might put this on, right against my core and then put another jacket over it. So, it really is a 15-degree swing depending on whether this is on the inside or the outside. So a lot of this stuff, some of it I've overlooked, whereas, it's a thin piece or, I'd only see myself wearing it a few times, but really once you get them and start playing around with how you're layering, they can make huge difference and they can be really crucial pieces.
Yeah, and like you're saying, this is probably half of what I have and half of what Casey has. As you do this for a while, you start getting that next perfect piece, that next perfect whatever. And I don't know about you, but like race day, race day or even ride day, I guess, we're like messaging buddies, what are you wearing today? What are you wearing? I think I'm going full bib. I think I'm going arm warmer. You start. It's a never-ending thing, and they make something for everything, which is cool. But it is nice once you start figuring it out.
It can definitely be maddening at first, having all kinds of options and trying to figure out what works where. But over time, you really find those go-tos, and it is nice to have. Like Mark said, we have a lot of gear, and it's nice to have a big bin where, any temperature you can really, just sort through and find the exact right thing. It makes rides a lot more enjoyable. And
I take a big bag with me, race or ride, and literally an hour before we're riding or racing, I'm digging through going, what's it like? This will work.
Sticking the hand out the window.
Going, checking the wind and looking at the weather map. But let's talk some more here about stuff for your hands. So we were talking, we have this somewhat in order, but we're gonna talk about hands. So go ahead and talk about what you got
Yeah,
there.
so like these here are, again, from Gore. They do just a wind stopper. So these actually don't have any fleece lining to them. They just strictly keep the wind off. So really great for like those fall rides or early mornings when you're starting, maybe during a race where it's cold, but once you warm up, you can just take them off, put them in your pocket, and just kind of move through.
Yep, this would be like my next one. I've got some like that, and then this one's just, it's not really even fleece lined, but it's just a step above maybe. Actually, these might be pretty similar to those, but
Yeah.
they make some with a little bit of a fleece lining, so there's like a mid-grade of these. I have hot hands, so, and that's something too. It's kind of a misconception that if you're like, oh, I'm going to go do this thing and it's, 40 or it's 50 and I just want to bundle up, that can make you over warm, can make your ride miserable. I mean, for me,
Exactly.
So it is a little bit of a challenge. You'll start to figure it out. We're just trying to help you with some of that, but this is more of like your, fall 50, 40 degree. I don't have much of my in between, but these actually are I found these at like Dunham's or something, not even cycling specific. And these suckers I can take right down to below freezing.
Yeah.
Not even sure what they're made of, but they're like waterproof and almost like a, what's the term I'm looking for? Not Gore-Tex, but anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Water
they're
resistant.
yeah, I can't think of what I'm trying to think of, but these are for me nice for down to some really cold. We'll show you extreme cold here in a little while. Those are good for basically recreational riding for me, where I just want to keep my hands warm and real toasty down here once we get.
And I guess that's a good point too, is you don't always have to have the latest and greatest. I mean, obviously get Grand Rapids Bicycle or your local shop and ask those guys their opinions. But really, I mean, the biggest thing is just getting something and figuring out what works for you. Getting out, testing it in different temperatures, and just kind of making a mental note or a physical note of, hey, it was this temp, I rode with these, and like I said, any combination of little things or what you have, you can really make work just by experimenting. And it takes a little bit, but you can get yourself pretty comfortable.
If you want to get super geeky, Gordon on our team, cycling team, has a spreadsheet, and we can probably get you a copy of it. I think it's pretty cool, where he has it like down to from 30 to 40, I wear this. From 40 to 50, I wear this. It's kind of cool. I mean, I'm kind of geeky like that too. I don't have one myself yet, but it's pretty helpful. So moving along down the path here, so we showed you some insulated bibs. Those are like bibs shorts that are insulated with a little bit of fleece in them. If you still have just your regular bibs, if you're not ready to put on the fleece bibs yet, these are lifesavers.
Yeah,
these are
when it's super cold.
Yeah, these are. I wear these sometimes too when it's not super cold, and I don't go to the thermal bibs yet.
Yep.
It just keeps the wind off the front, if you know what I mean, and it breathes in the back. And these are good
thermal boxers. So first layer.
Yes.
And like Mark said, you can couple that with just your regular summer bibs, some knee warmers. You have a really versatile, bottom half, and you can really keep yourself warm.
Like you just said, arm warmers, leg warmers. Nice set of gloves, and maybe something like this is a really good. Yeah,
it's amazing how much just that, I know for a few years I overlooked the small things, like I have a net gaiter here, just covering up that area or covering up your knees. You wouldn't think that it's going to make a huge difference, but it really does. Same thing like a hat here. It's amazing how much, heat escapes through your head or through, not having your neck covered. Or your knees, things like that. So definitely don't overlook those little pieces because they can be really crucial, especially when you start to figure out how to layer them and use them with each other.
Moving on to feet. Let's talk about feet here for a minute. So I would say these are kind of in order. What you can do is when that first weather starts breaking and you get into that 50-degree stuff and your toes start to get a little cold, because your cycling shoes are built to breathe really well. So it's letting all the wind in. That helps you in the summer, keeps your feet cool. But if you have those same high ventilated shoes and you start hitting those chillier temperatures, toe covers. These are my first weapon when it starts to cool off a little bit. Keeps the toes from getting real chilly up front. those are a good first step. And then we'll go right down the list here. There's one that's missing, unless you have it over there, that I like between these two, but it's a shoe cover, but it's just thin. They make them in waterproof or even just material themselves. The waterproof ones, I will say from experience, they hold all that moisture in. So if your feet are sweating, it can work against you too. Yeah. If you start cooling off and then all of a sudden your feet are cold or wet and cold, and that's a problem.
And same thing even with the toe covers, they do make like waterproof, just thin. So even like a summer ride when it's rainy, or maybe a warmer fall day where there's puddles and things on the road, instead of getting your feet soaked, you can throw one of those on.
Yeah. Yep. And then moving on, neoprene. That's what I was looking for back here. Yeah. These are kind of like neoprene booties. These are real cheapies and heavily used here. But these were something I used, real inexpensive. We haven't really talked price on much of this stuff, but these are the least expensive way, I would say, to try to keep your feet warm. Yeah. I think you can get these for 10 or 20 bucks, if that. They slide right over your existing shoe, almost turns it into a mild boot. Yeah. And it's going to keep the moisture off. It's going to breathe a little bit. They do get wrecked real easy. That's why they're inexpensive. But,
especially if you're walking on them.
Yep.
Same thing with these. These are ones that I've had for a long time. These are kind of that in between, full winter boot, like we'll talk about here in a minute, and your, summer with just a light cover. Again, these are Gore-Tex.
Waterproof then.
Waterproof. I've used them in, snow when it's a light snow and you don't want to quite have your full boot on. You can still take, just a summer shoe and really turn it into almost a do-it-all winter boot. Obviously there are times where it gets pretty cold here, but
especially right back to that racing thing. That's a good, like racing wise. This would probably be sufficient in a race environment, even if it's 30 degrees, because you're pushing max heart rate and stuff like that. So I think these next two, these are both mine, and I started with these. These are some Enduros. They're a step above my real inexpensive ones. These are definitely more expensive. I think these are more closer to $100. These are just, built a lot better. I mean, they turn into almost a boot, and they're just sewn really well, but, super warm. This is below freezing race-wise. I can wear these. These are really cool, and they go right over your current cycling shoe. That's really cool. And then what I ended up doing is when these guys came out, I'm like, man, I like the idea, because these are a little bit of a pain in the butt to get over your shoe.
Yeah, it takes a little bit to stretch them on. Obviously, if it's something where, winter you're going to be getting off a lot, walking, maybe mountain biking, same sort of thing. Obviously, for gravel or road where you're not going to be walking around on your shoes, the booties are a solid option, but they do tend to get beat up and ripped up. So obviously, going to something like Mark's going to talk about, if it's in the budget, is a great benefit.
These are sweet. I saw these and I was a little skeptical on them, because to me it looks like just a regular cycling shoe. But then after I started to feel it and heard that they were waterproof, I think they're waterproof. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's give it a try. So then I did, and I fell in love with these guys. These are, I don't know the price point on these. Do you?
I don't know either.
Okay.
Maybe.
Google it.
Yeah.
Google it.
I don't want to say.
Call GRBC.
Yep.
But these guys right here, in my opinion, probably double at least the cost of these. Are kind of expensive just as covers, but these are, more expensive, but you're going to get a lot longer life out of these. Yeah. You're not going to have the hassle. They've got the BOA set up so you can get them nice and snug. I've been in races with these, gravel races. I've been in just rides in these. These are just really good shoes.
Another huge benefit to those too, like Mark said, even when you're racing in the dead of winter, something like this you can get by with when you're being really active. The nice thing with these, as opposed to like the full winter boot like we're going to talk about, is obviously they have the ankle cover, but sometimes when you get into a boot, they're great because they keep you really warm during the winter, but they can be bulky. It's almost like a different pedal stroke. You don't have that flexibility in your ankles. So even having an in-between boot is really nice. Or, like we talked about, where you can wear your regular low-cut summer shoe and then have a flexible, cover. It's nice to have options, but these are really great.
You brought up a great point. This feels like my cycling shoe.
Yeah.
It's 30 degrees out, 40 degrees, maybe even a little under freezing sometimes. It doesn't feel like I got a big, heavy boot on. So let's jump right into talking about those. These are sweet, and they even make a colder version than these.
Yeah.
But I will say that in a race, or if you're out there getting crazy with your buddies and everybody's pushing the pace, your feet are warm, but you feel like you got bricks on your feet.
Yeah, I mean, these are the Wolfhammer from 45 North.
Which these are 49 45 North.
45 North, I'm not even going to try and say the name. It starts with an R.
Oh, yeah. I won't try either.
So there's the Wolfhammer, and then the Wolfgar, I think it is, which is the even more extreme. But nice thing about these is 45 North only focuses on colder weather riding. So fall, late fall, winter. If you check these guys out or go to GRBC, they carry a full line of it. Same thing with the Gore. The stuff can be a little bit pricey, but it is built to last, and that's really their main focus is the really inclement weather.
It is true, you get what you pay for.
Yeah,
We've all tested.
I mean, obviously, the most important thing is getting out there. So whatever you have, definitely experiment with it and just figure out what works. But yeah, something like these will keep you riding all winter long and keep you comfortable.
If you're going out for 2 to 4 hours and it's a Saturday and you're going with buddies and you're going to stop and, grab coffee and whatever and hang out, these suckers you can, basically walk around the snowy woods with and your feet don't get cold.
Yeah. And, even talking about some of this other stuff, like these are bar mitts or pogies. This is something for a few years I tried to put off. I tried to get away with just summer shoes and the booties and, really thick gloves. And some of this stuff might seem like overkill, but honestly, nothing kills your ride faster than having cold hands or cold feet.
Yep.
So these basically slide onto, over your handlebar. You basically just, put your hand inside. You can even throw warmers in there. They keep the wind off. They keep the snow off. I mean, it's crazy how warm they keep your hands.
These suckers right here, these are the Dogwoods, and they're made in Alaska, right?
Yeah.
GRBC sells these, Grand Rapids Bicycle Company. Tyler talked me into these, and I love them. Like, I held off for 2 years or so, just went through the whole glove game, and I'm like, let me try those things. So we started doing a lot of fat biking and whatnot, and I love that you can wear your summerest summer glove inside of these. It can be 20 degrees. And your hand's gonna sweat.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you could be barehanded, and even your forearm gets kind of warm. But they're great, and it's really like, I can't believe. Like I said, I tried to do without them for a long time, and I can't believe how much longer or more miles I probably put in just because my feet weren't cold, my hands weren't cold, and it's going out for an extra lap and not heading back to the car.
Exactly. So. This is reflective, I believe. This is reflective. You can get them in different colors. Once again, they're not the cheapest option, but I love them.
45 North makes a really good option for those too. Okay. There are some things to think about too, like 45 North, I believe they bolt on. I don't know if they've changed that, but like those just slide on. So
multiple bikes.
Yeah, things to think about, multiple bikes, or if you put your bike on a car rack, these aren't riding around on, like I have the same ones. I throw them in the back seat. As soon as I get there, they slide on. Yeah. They're really great.
Instead of seeing them go like this in the wind.
45 North ones are good too. They have a lot of good, it's good design as well.
Yeah, so we kind of jumped into hands there a little bit. So let's jump. We did the boots. There's some heavy duty hands. So as we get over here, I would say for me, this is where, let me talk about this because we didn't talk about this yet, did we?
Yeah, it's kind of.
This is
between. Yeah.
I would say this is like one of my first pieces I would buy, maybe besides arm warmers and leg warmers, this would be my next after that. This is just a Windbreaker, and it basically, what's cool about this is that you can wear a thicker base layer underneath, a thinner base layer underneath, just a jersey underneath for wicking. You can get it a little bit, not skin tight, and just get it a little bit bigger. And you can wear this. This is a real universal piece where you can go from, maybe 55 down to 30 with it, depending on your base layers underneath.
Yeah.
So
that's another thing, like something that, going back to kind of what we talked about, is like something that you might overlook, but honestly, coupled with the right base layer or another thermal, really, at first I looked at this and I was like, I don't need that. It's so, it's thin, or it's just a windbreaker. But really, you couple it with the right piece and it turns into 4 or 5 jackets, and it's a good layering piece.
Yeah, we forgot about that one, so I wanted to make sure we touched on that. So then this is a base layer. Once again, just other thicknesses of base layers. I think we've got a couple pants that we can talk about here. Let's see. Talk about these ones because those are probably the least warm, and then they get warmer.
Yeah, so these are, again, another GRBC pant, but with these kind of a wind resistant or wind blocking all down the front and the back, again, something that's going to vent. These are full length and then, thermal on the inside. Nice thing about these is you can kind of wear them all winter long, especially if you couple in other things like the thermal boxers and stuff like that. But again, kind of that same idea, keeping the wind off of you, full length so everything's covered, still a little breathable.
Yep.
The other thing too to think about is just kind of a weird thing, but some of the winter pants and thermals are going to come with a chamois built in, so your pad, and some without. That's something to think about. Like these have the pad in, which is nice, but if you're going to spend a lot of money and really invest in something, it's something to think about, because once that pad wears out, then the shorts kind of are no longer good. Whereas if you have something, especially like a winter or something that you're really going to invest in, you can buy those without a pad and just put your regular summer underneath and then do that. So just something to think about that I didn't for a while, and it's kind of a good
go to the chamois butter thing that thought you had
that. Difference of opinions.
So that's I'd say a good mild version, or good mild thickness.
Yeah.
And then these are I'm not gonna remember the actual name of these ones, but these are Pearl Izumi. I got these years back, and these are my middle of the winter. Like I'm usually out on the fat bike, kind of just cruising, not like hitting it hard.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing these. This is give me any temperature you can think of, and these suckers.
Yeah.
These are really nice. I forget the model of these, but highly recommend these. Those are really good. And
those are full all the way around, right? Same material, like
I think it's a little breather.
Oh yeah, maybe a little in the legs, but
breathes down here. But yeah, similar all the way around.
Yeah.
Keeping the wind out. So yeah, these ones, if you're not careful, you can put these on too early and you're hot.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I got a pair of these Segoys. You know the names of the model of these?
I don't. Firewall or Titan,
so.
maybe.
Yeah, I think it's the 2 Firewall. I think.
Okay.
So windproof in the front, super breathable in the back, almost to a fault. It's that breathable in the back, but there's a purpose for these. These days where these are good.
And the nice thing too is those are a little bit baggier, so it makes it kind of easier to layer underneath, especially the winter if you're going to be a little more casual.
You brought up
there's good options.
The pad thing. These have no pad, so you might wear your cycling bibs underneath these to have a pad. So that's a good example of that. One of the last items I've got here is this is a Segoy jacket. Once again, if I'm wearing this, it's cold out.
Oh, those are great. I have one of those too.
Yeah. This thing. I can wear like barely, a jersey underneath, if anything. Well, I do wear usually a jersey at least underneath it, but this thing, may not look like much, but this thing, you know, keeps you really, really warm. So once again, like some of this gear is like my riding gear, and then racing gear, I'm way over on this side with barely as much, being a bigger guy that sweats a lot. So, anything else you can think of, basically?
No, really. I mean, obviously, as what we just went through, I mean, obviously there's a bazillion options. There's a ton of different stuff. There's a ton of different options. I think the biggest thing would be to, you know, get down to your local bike shop and maybe ask some of those people what they wear. You know, obviously everybody's going to be a little bit different, but talk to those guys. Like I know GRBC carries a lot of what we talked about, like Pearl Izumi, Sugoi, Gore, 45 North. You know, some of these companies really specialize in that. So it's worth looking into, and don't just write off a piece because you're like, it seems thin, or maybe I wouldn't use it a ton, because there really is a lot of good uses for them. And even though it's thin, it's crazy the technology they have and the materials and different textiles that they use, you know, really make some solid riding gear, and it can really be beneficial to the amount of time you're riding or your enjoyment of the ride. I know I enjoy, you know, having all the options, and I, you know, starting to really get good at what to wear, and it really, you know, my rides don't get cut short, and I really enjoy them a lot more just because of having a good amount of options.
Good assortment for sure. So yeah, I guess ask some questions below if you want in the comments. We'll answer them. If there's anything, we're gonna do all kinds of reviews, you know, revolved around cycling or revolved around off-road stuff. You know, all kinds of different adventure stuff. So that's our cold weather wrap up. We just kind of wanted to get you some information to check into different temperatures. The best thing you have to do is check out yourself. Your body's gonna be a little different than everybody else's, but this will get you started. So leave some comments. Let us know if you have any more questions. But we're excited about hearing what you guys think.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Cut it off.